Mr. President, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate you taking the time. Over the years, I've heard you talk.
I'm glad you did.
We all know about the bright side of fame. After all, it's fed to us on a continuous 24-hour news cycle on every type of screen imaginable. But for every story that shines a light on all the positive aspects of celebrity, there are those that have fallen through the cracks because they cast the industry in a less than favorable light. These stories deal with the dark side of fame, and that's exactly what this series is all about. Now for today's episode, we're focusing on the leader of the free world and soon-to-be former president of the United States. Of course, I'm talking about the one and only Donald Trump. Now, last time we made a video on Donald Trump, I was wearing this hat and you guys didn't like it. So this time, forget about it. Before the past 4 years totally rewrote how history will perceive this partisan figure, well, the 70 years of his life that preceded his term as president, well, they were chock full of controversies as well.
We're going to build a wall. It's going to be built. It's not even, believe it or not, it's not even a difficult thing to do. Build a wall.
What? Of course, there's always a dark side to all that fame, and in the Donald's case, well, that might even be something of an understatement. Truly, the breadth of Trump's controversies is beyond huge. Even before the presidency, there were accusations of mafia ties, unscrupulous business dealings, racial discrimination, and alleged sexual assault.
In their divorce proceedings, she allegedly said Trump once forced her to have sex against her will.
In fact, Trump, he's been dodging allegations for the better part of 40 years. And to pick through each and every one of them, well, it would require hundreds of hours. No cap. But that doesn't mean we ain't gonna try. Now, just to brief you on some of the topics we've got for you, we're talking Stormy Daniels, Russia and some golden showers, Kim Jong-un, mafia ties, shady business practices, and plenty of angry women, rightfully so.
Such a nasty woman.
Now, on the bright side of fame, well, Donald, he's had what many people would consider a successful career in multiple revenue streams. In October of 2018, the New York Times, they estimated that Donald, well, he'd become a millionaire by the age of only 8.
The leases committed the Beach Haven Apartments to pay $60,600 every year to Fred Trump's children for the next 99 years.
Okay, yeah, that had a lot more to do with his father's questionable business practices than it had anything to do with the Donald, but still his dad, he wouldn't have made him the president of his family business by 1971 if he wasn't bringing anything to the table, am I right?
I started off in Brooklyn. My father gave me a small loan of $1 million. I came into Manhattan and I had to pay him back, and I had to pay him back with interest.
We also have to give the Donald some credit for building landmarks like the Trump Tower, and no matter which way you cut it, well, he had a remarkably successful media career in years prior to achieving his political ambitions.
You had a phone call with Vladimir Putin on July 23rd.
That was a phone call to discuss Russia, and bacon.
But we ain't talking about that today, so join me as we take a look at some of the biggest Donald Trump controversies of all time in the newest episode of The Dark Side of Fame. My name, you know, Michael McCrudden. Now, recent drops in this series, they include Eminem and Kanye West. Also, we got some brand new thumbnails. Let us know what you think. Let us know who to feature next, and I'll see you after the intro.
You hate me because people call me a racist president. Baby, if you got a bigger brain, you would know that they stole the election from me.
Donald Trump was born on June 14th, 1946 in Queens, New York City, and that's literally the only biographical information you're gonna get out of me in this video. There's just simply so much controversy to cover, we don't have any time to talk about his come up, but you can watch our recent Before They Were Famous. We updated on the Donalds. It's got everything you need in there, more. His parents, they enlisted him in military college. There he was a popular dude and also a star athlete, and he was labeled as the school's ladies' man, which is actually kind of weird because this was a school filled with boys.
Yeah, I see that.
For the purpose of this video, it is 100% controversy all the time, so let's jump into it, and we'll kick things off with Trump's multitude of sexual assault allegations. Now, long before the release of a certain video recorded back in 2005, y'all remember this.
I better use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy. I can do anything.
Well, there was a long line of other allegations of a similar sort against Donald. Jill Harth, she came forward and accused Trump of assaulting her back in the 1990s.
He groped me. He absolutely groped me. And he just slipped his hand there, touching my private parts.
Even his former wife, Ivana Trump, she once suggested that he had R-worded her. Now, she did eventually recant that story, stating that she didn't mean to use the R word in the literal or criminal sense. But I got a feeling that was her lawyers, telling her what to do. Then there was former Miss Utah, Temple Taggart, who said Trump, he once kissed her on the lips inappropriately. After the release of the Access Hollywood tape, more women, they came forward to tell the New York Times that Trump, he had assaulted them, including multiple accusations of groping and forcing himself onto others. In fact, in the days before Trump's election, former apprentice contestant Summer Zervos, she also claimed that Trump kissed her and pressed his junk up against her non-consensually.
As I was about to leave, he again kissed me on the lips. This made me feel nervous and embarrassed. This is not what I wanted or expected. He asked me for my phone number, and I scrawled it down with a marker. I left hurriedly and called a friend who lived in New York because I was upset by the kiss. I also called my parents to let them know what had happened.
Then there are several former teen pageant contestants who have also told the media that Trump, used to walk in them while they were changing, catching them naked or partially dressed. Heck, sometimes he'd even just line them up for his own personal inspection.
He lined all 51 of us up, and I thought it was going to be, hi, how are you, nice to meet you, that type of kind of meet and greet thing. It was not. It was him going down and one by one looking us over like we were pieces of meat, and he was trying to decide which, piece of meat he wanted.
Speaking of beauty pageants, back in 1992, the American Dream pageant had turned into a real mess. After years of attending the events, Donald, he finally decided to get into the business of beautiful, scantily clad women himself. He met with George Harani and Jill Harth, the couple that ran the pageant. Both of them alleged that Trump, he started making passes at Jill almost immediately. Now, on one occasion, Trump, he asked them to bring some of their models to a party where Trump, he would later go on to grope Jill. Now, Jill, she eventually sued Trump for sexual misbehavior while also suing him for breach of contract after he broke off all business dealings with her and her partner. In that same suit, it is alleged that Trump, he kept black women out of the pageant, which was far from the first time that the Trumps, they would be accused of racial discrimination. In fact, the Department of Justice, they sued Trump and his father back in 1973 for housing discrimination at 39 sites in New York. The New York Times reported, the government contended that Trump management had refused to rent or negotiate rentals because of race and color. The Trumps fired back by suing the Department of Justice for $100 million, a case that would ultimately be settled out of court, with the Trumps promising not to discriminate and submitting to regular review by the New York Urban League. Now, shady business dealings are more or less Trump's bread and butter, even as far back as the 1980s, when his signature Trump Tower was under construction. Now, there were accusations of exploitation in order to build Trump Tower. Now, first Trump, he had to do away with the Bonwit Teller store, an architectural landmark. Now, the work had to happen fast, so Trump's managers, they hired 200 undocumented Polish workers to tear it down, paying them $5 an hour for backbreaking work. Now, when workers eventually started to complain about back pay, they were threatened with deportation. Despite claiming to be unaware of the illegal immigrants working for him in 1991, a federal judge found Trump and other defendants guilty of conspiring to avoid paying union pension and welfare contributions for the workers. By the way, these workers, they were far from the only contractors that have complained that Trump, he never paid them properly. Waiters, dishwashers, plumbers, all types of different labor groups, they have said that his company has stiffed them over the years, refusing to pay for services rendered, taking advantage of many normal, hardworking Americans in the process. Now, speaking on everyday Americans and Trump's effects on them, back in 1981, Trump bought up a building on Central Park South, hoping to tear it down to replace it with luxury condos. Now, the only problem was, a lot of people were still living in this building and didn't want to move. Now, Trump, he resorted to every trick in the book to get them out. He cut off the heat and water, and he ordered building management to refuse to make repairs. Now, when tenants complained, Trump sued them for $150 million before eventually giving in. Now, surprisingly, the building still stands today, and his son Eric, he actually lives in an apartment on the top floor. I guess that's not as surprising. In terms of intimidating business practices, Trump, he has been linked to the mafia many times over the years. Many of these connections, they seem to be the type that are inevitable for a guy in construction and casino businesses. Now, in the 1980s, the New York City, they organized crime control and concrete business, which meant Trump, he had to deal with them often. Trump's own lawyer, Michael Cohen, he has represented the Genovese crime family and boss, Tony Salerno, in the past, and it's been widely reported that Trump, he is close with Robert Labuti, a former associate of John Gotti. going so far as to invite Robert onto his yacht and his helicopter.
He basically spent a lot of money at the casinos. He was a horse trader. He was banned from racetracks in New York State, and Trump got to know him because you know who your big customers are who are bringing you a lot of money.
Before we take a look at some of the Donald's controversies as President of the United States, well, let's quickly go over the 4 times his companies have entered bankruptcy. Now, in the late 80s, Trump used junk bonds to build Trump Taj Mahal. Once he finished the casino, well, he couldn't keep up with the interest payments, so his company, they declared bankruptcy in 1991. Now, he had to sell his yacht, his airline, and half his ownership in the casino. The next year, the Trump Plaza in Atlantic City went bust after losing more than $550 million, and it put Trump in a personal hole to the sum of $900 million. Now, Trump, he would bounce back over the next decade, but by 2004, well, Trump hotels and casino resorts were in the red with as much as $1.8 billion in debt. Now, the company had filed for bankruptcy and rebranded itself Trump Entertainment Resorts. 5 years later, after the real estate collapse, well, Trump Entertainment Resorts was once again bankrupt. Now, Trump, he resigned from the board, and in 2014, he successfully sued to take his name off the company and its casinos. Now, we're halfway through this video, and I haven't even touched on his presidency, which he won in 2016.
Donald J. Trump is now President of the United States.
Now, Trump didn't wait long to move all over his controversial behavior into the White House. Now, in fact, one of his first acts as President of the United States was to unleash chaos at airports around America after he signed an executive order banning people from Iran, Iraq, Somalia, Libya, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen from visiting the United States for 90 days.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.
Now, Trump denied it was a Muslim ban and said it was about keeping terror out of America, but this same ban, it didn't seem to apply to other countries with well-documented problems with terrorists like Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, or others. Now, court challenges saw the order overturned briefly, but it was eventually backed by the Supreme Court. Trump might have been worried about terrorism, but the same can't be said about dictatorships. Now, Donald, he quickly struck up a relationship with North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un, and while it got off to a bit of a rocky start after Trump referred to him as
Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself and for his regime.
Well, the two, they quickly made peace when Trump, he became the first sitting US president to travel to North Korea and step foot in the country.
President Trump has just walked across the demarcation line that made him the first US president to visit our country.
Speaking of foreign world powers, then there was Russia. Now, the Russian scandal was perhaps the most serious of the controversies surrounding the Trump presidency. Now, the scandal, it had its origins in the general election campaign between Trump and Hillary Clinton, when both the FBI and the CIA, they revealed that Russian hackers, they targeted the Democratic National Committee and the private emails of Clinton. Now, this put the integrity of the entire American voting system at risk.
Where the f*** you have to do this on Windows XP machine? Stupid, Boris, stupid.
Now, of course, when you pull on that Russian thread, it's only a matter of time until the P-tape controversy rears its urine-soaked head. In 2017, a dossier was made public which illuminated Donald's deep ties to Russia. In this document were a collection of memos that spanned months that included not only allegations that Trump aides and Russian operatives had been in contact, but that there existed somewhere out there a tape of Donald Trump ordering 2 ladies of the night to perform a golden shower in front of him on a hotel bed in Russia that President Barack Obama and his wife Michelle had once slept in. If he's just doing that for payback, who are you really paying back? You know?
He denied it. He interrupted me and denied it in pretty strong terms and asked, I assumed rhetorically, whether he looked like a guy who needed the services of hookers.
Now, according to the dossier, well, this compromising information had ensured that Trump was in Russia's back pocket, and they had been asserting him for a number of years. But that wasn't the only time the world would learn too much information over Donald's sex life. Now, the next year in 2018, adult entertainer Stormy Daniels, well, she would publish a book about her affair with Trump from 2006. Now, in that book, she likens his friend, well, to a mushroom. How do you top that? Am I right? I mean, what else is there to say about the dark side of President Trump? I mean, I could talk about his impeachment in 2018. That's after a phone call between him and Ukrainian president was released, where Trump, he asked for favors like an investigation into Joe Biden's son Hunter and his ties to the Eastern European country, refusing to provide funding to the Ukraine until his demands were met. Now, soon after, the House of Representatives, they voted to impeach the president on charges of abuse of power, but Trump, he was acquitted by the Senate. Or how about that time he decided to separate children from their parents at the US-Mexico border with images of children being kept in cages shocking the American public when they were actually released. Then during the course of the hellscape that was this past year, well, Trump, he enraged millions of protesters peacefully marching in response to George Floyd's death while they were tear gassed and hit by police batons just so Trump, he can make a photo op. And how could we forget about his response to COVID? Or maybe I should more accurately state his total and complete lack thereof. Now, he refused to wear a mask and give up on his mass rallies, believing that this virus, it would simply go away, despite the fact that it has killed hundreds of thousands of Americans to this point in time. Where did that ultimately get him?
The President of the United States and the First Lady have both tested positive for the coronavirus.
Yeah, there was that, but there was also this.
Joe Biden has won the American presidential election. The BBC projects that he's crossed the threshold of 270 electoral college votes needed with a win in the state of Pennsylvania.
Well, imagine my shock.
And with that, Donald Trump's presidency is finally winding down to a close. Then again, there was still enough time for the Donald to give us all one last hit, so to speak.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
Honestly, January 20th, it just can't get here any sooner. And I'm in Canada. Even for me, I'm like, enough's enough. In the meantime, well, I hope you all survived this look at Donald Trump's brush with the dark side of fame. Don't forget to let me know what you think in the comments down below. You can follow me at Instagram at BeforeThey'reFamous. You guys requested this video. Let us know who's next. I'll see you guys in another video. Boom!
Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more videos that you'll be interested, click right here. Check out the playlist over here and don't forget to subscribe.